prison, I felt I only existed instead of lived. I had to escape to reclaim my life.
Vale had the ability to manipulate staff.
I think about busting out of here.
Val was the brains of the operation.
Hells yeah.
I'd done 15 years inside and was ready to shed that life forever.
He's coming now. Freedom is just 40 feet away, man.
My name is Timothy Vale. I was found guilty of murdering a woman during a burglary and sentenced to 49 years to life at Elmira State Prison. Do I deserve to do time for my crime?
This is my office.
Shut up! Yes, but 49 years to life? Not in my mind. I'm a country boy, and more than anything, I yearned for the woods and the mountains, where I'd always felt free. I made every kind of appeal I could, but they were all denied. It was then I decided to escape.
Morning, Glenn. How was your drive?
Good, thank you.
I know Elmira very well. I spent certainly probably more time there touring the facility than any other maximum security prisons.
Center Gate is a large gate that they have to pass through throughout the day. We search them to stop contraband flow from one area to the other. It's a random thing because you can't possibly frisk every inmate. Vale was easygoing, did whatever he was told. He had a good personality where you could talk to him and almost believe that he wasn't an inmate.
I guess that's why I can see anything and figure out how it works. It's just in the blood. And one thing was obvious. Elmira sure didn't have an outer wall or a fence. That seemed like a weakness to me. One day, as I came out of the mess hall, I noticed the louvers of a ventilation shaft on the roof of F Block. And suddenly, it hit me. If I could somehow chip through the ceiling of a top-floor cell and get into the attic, maybe I could get into a ventilation shaft and out onto the roof. From there, I could climb down to freedom on the other side of F Block, using some kind of makeshift rope. The problem was, my cell was on the ground floor. Not long after that, I met Timothy Morgan in the yard. He had a double bunked cell on the top floor.
Tim Bill.
Tim Morgan.
How you doing, buddy?
Good, good. How you doing? Morgan was serving a sentence of 25 to life. He was convicted of shooting a taxi cab driver in the face with a shotgun and stealing less than $100 from the man's body.
Turned out, he was a country boy too.
What are you hunting for?
Whatever we can find, man.
We became close, and I felt I could trust him. I decided to risk telling him about my escape plan.
I believe Val was the more dominant one.
I want to talk to you about something really important, right?
He was more the brains of the operation.
I'm thinking about busting out of here. Are you in?
Hells yeah.
But escape was still just a dream without the tools I needed to break through a concrete ceiling. Then, I got lucky.
Take a look at that.
Val was well known as an artist. You see him as geez, this guy's got an ability here.
So what do you think about painting some Christmas decorations for the prison?
Yeah, sure, why not?
paint the Christmas decorations, I was assigned to the carpentry shop.
Prisons are like a city, and cities have to be maintained and operated as efficiently as possible.
It was like destiny. All the tools I needed to escape were right there.
Inmates do a lot of the maintenance work, a lot of the carpentry work. If we didn't use inmates, we couldn't afford to run the prison.
Okay.
For my plan to work, I had to find a way to stay assigned to the carp shop. I started helping the other inmates. The civilian running the shop, Gary Silvers, saw that I knew what I was doing. Soon, I was like his coworker.
Hey, man, how you doing, man? Good? Yeah? So,
Now I asked him if he was still interested in busting out. He said,
yeah. All right. Okay, listen. You gotta persuade your cell buddy to move out of there.
I
okay?
told him to persuade his cellmate to seek reassignment so I could move in.
Cell transfers were done on a daily basis. There was no red flags or alarms raised when this happened.
When the transfer was approved, everything was finally in place.
When are we gonna get started? As soon as we can, brother. As soon as we can.
That night, we made an important decision.
So where are we gonna put the hole?
Right there.
The corner near the bars was really hard to see from the outside. We hid it some more by moving the bunk and hanging up clothes and towels. Nothing is supposed to block a prison officer's view into a cell, but they didn't seem to give a damn. Now we needed a sharp metal tool from the carp shop to start chipping through the ceiling. I was never going to be able to smuggle out a hammer or a chisel. Then I realized something small and simple might do the job. Carp shop's 3-inch sheetrock screws. They weren't on the inventory. They had sharp steel tips, and concrete is just cement, sand, and bits of rock. Keep scraping and you'll get through, right? I taped 4 screws to my stomach, and if a guard at center gate decided to pat me down, I had a decoy. Painting of mine I've been framing. But I was smoking like a maniac just to calm me down. Getting caught would raise my security profile sky high. If this guy frisked me good and thorough, the escape was over.
Hey, guys. How are you, buddy? What you got there?
There's someone working on?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty impressive.
Thanks, man.
18s?
Yeah.
Good job. How'd you get this detail on the wing, buddy?
Just time and patience, man.
The picture? Nice.
Just an image in
Then
my head.
another officer walked up.
Very impressive.
I was thinking, is he gonna pat me down?
See this? All right, what do you think? It's pretty nifty.
Inside, it was like, will you guys just please shut up and let me through? Or I'm done.
I'm just full of surprises, right?
I was trying real hard to act normal, while my heart was racing.
All right, buddy. Head on in.
Thanks, man.
All right,
You guys-
take it easy, huh? Have a good one.
You too.
Using my painting as a decoy had worked.
Vale had the ability to manipulate staff in order to get what he needed into his cell.
What I got here, buddy?
When I pulled out the screws, Tim seen I really meant to go all the way.
Use these to get the guy out of here. Sweet.
But hiding contraband in a 6x10 cell ain't easy. And we ran the risk every day of having it searched. To get back to those woods that I loved as a kid, everything would be a test of will, wits, and courage. Less than 24 hours later, I started chipping at the ceiling. Tim was on guard.
They're always monitoring where the officer's at, and they use mirrors. That's what we call the radar. We have to counter their ability to know what we're doing, so we try not to do the same routine over and over. You break it up.
I'll tell you, in the beginning, I thought, damn, this is gonna take some time. Imagine trying to dig through concrete with nothing but your hands and some metal screws. It was hard as hell. I hid the first scratches with a sheet of black paper from all the art stuff I was allowed in the cell. That merged with the ceiling real good.
What do you think? I don't know if we're gonna be able to do this. At least not without better tools.
I found a handle off a wood planing machine in the carpentry shop that wasn't in use no more. It would be perfect as a hammer for the screws.
Mercy Vale.
Tim got a special pass to visit the carp shop.
This is shop, eh?
This time, he carried the contraband. I never doubted him at this point. The trust was just there. But I wouldn't know if Tim got through center gate until I made it back to the cell.
Did you get it? It's in your locker.
Morgan was able to get around easily because he was trusted. He was very quiet, kept to himself, and stayed out of trouble.
This is gonna work much better.
We stuck layers of tape to the planer handle to mask the tapping noise of the metal on metal. Now we started making some progress. But only when the noise levels got loud enough to cover the tink-tink-tink sound from the chipping. There were times when we were working our asses off and seemed to get nowhere. But when we filled a styrofoam cup with concrete chips, then we would say we had a good night and draw a smiley face on the calendar. The waste went down the toilet, or we just toss it in the garbage can in the morning. We were under constant pressure. Back in our cell, we had the working of a hole in the ceiling and all sorts of contraband that would get us years in solitary alone. The work was backbreaking. But by the fourth week, we'd made real progress. Then something happened, which I was dreading.
What's wrong? We got a problem. What? I just hit rebar.
I'd worked in construction before prison, and I knew we might run into steel rebar supporting the ceiling. It was a real downer.
And we need to cut through that.
I knew only one place I could get a blade that might do the job. There was an old bandsaw in the carp shop. The whole thing was due to be thrown out. Nobody would notice a few pieces of missing blade. And there was a way to get them past the metal detector at center gate. Our tobacco packs had a metal foil lining. They were searched by hand, then passed around the side to stop triggering the alarm.
You, man? Where's him? Good, you?
But if the pack looked unopened, the guards were unlikely to check inside.
New pouch?
Yeah, I just traded it for some paints.
Good.
Thanks, man.
One thing I learned in prison is that people might look real hard, but not see something if it's right under their nose. With a toothbrush for a handle, I figured we could get through the rebar with these blades, even though they were for cutting wood. But they wore out fast. Luckily, we only had to cut one side on each piece of rebar, then bend it back and forth until it broke.
It's working.
Our morale shot up again. We wrapped the used blades in tape and threw them in the trash. But the rest of our escape tools were still in the cell. Then, our worst nightmare came true.
Cell search. Stand up.
Officers started doing top-to-bottom searches on our gallery.
Doing a random search.
We made sure everything was hidden as best we could. Then just prayed our cell wasn't on the list for inspection. Okay, guys. 2 officers walked in, and we could hardly breathe. We were thinking, any second now, they'll find something suspicious. The planer head, the screws, the paper on the ceiling. They glanced around, ticked their check sheet, and just walked out.
These guys generally are good and cause no problems within the block, so there was no real reason to really concentrate on them.
We felt like we just dodged a bullet.
I can't believe it just happened.
We wouldn't survive another cell search if it was done properly. So we had to finish real soon if we ever wanted to bust out. I decided we'd bore a small hole straight through to see how far was left to go. I'll never forget that day. Suddenly there's no resistance at the end of the screw. Pull it back and there's a tiny beam of electric light coming through. There must have been some kind of bulb up there. The pressure to bust through the rest of the concrete before another cell search made me want to take one more big risk. There was an old sledgehammer that was off any tool inventory. It was being used as a doorstop. If I could get the sledge back to the cell, we could smack out the rest of the concrete. Trying to get something that big through center gate seemed crazy, but we couldn't hide the escape hole much longer. I made a spur-of-the-moment decision. I thought I had a chance. Remember, I got on pretty well with the guards, so I wasn't scrutinized too much. But I was sweating it the whole way. The bag strap was digging into my shoulder because of the weight of the sledgehammer.
The inmate's job is to get around the rules, and our job is to enforce the rules. You have to be on your toes. You have to counter-think them sometimes.
Suddenly, officers come out with a handheld metal detector. I'm thinking I've gone too far. My luck can't hold. I'm going to get caught this time. They checked the guy in front of me, and I was next. It was like a slow-motion nightmare. I couldn't think of any way out. Then, I saw an officer off to the side who I knew.
How are you?
I walked over and spoke some bull with him,
Any paintings?
Yeah, I'm working on the American Eagle spray wings and everything.
till I seen my shot to slip through the gate.
Good.
Have a good
All
day.
right.
Yeah, thanks, man.
And I was gone. When I showed up with that 6-pound sledgehammer, Tim thought I'd taken a crazy risk. But he lightened up big time when I told him how we could use it on the 4th of July. The booming sound of the fireworks in town would hide the hammer blows. July 4th was only a couple of weeks away. Before then, there was another pain in the ass we had to solve. Once we slipped out, we needed to hide that we were gone, at least for a few hours.
Knowing where an inmate is one of the most important functions that we have. There were a number of counts throughout the day 6:30 in the morning, 10:30 at night. During the night, usually every hour. If the inmate's missing and you don't realize till 6:30 in the morning, they had 8 hours head start on you. Directly around the institution, there's a lot of woods, a lot of tough terrain where an inmate could easily hide out. Worse than that, they could be in somebody's house.
My plan was to use my skill as an artist to trick the guards. I was going to make dummies. Getting hold of some real hair sure wasn't a problem.
Tim. Wow, awesome. Okay, watch it do it. Watch it talking.
The 4th of July arrived. We knew it was going to be a big night, and we'd have to work fast. As soon as the fireworks started in the town, we got out the sledgehammer. The booms fell in together with the hammer hits. Nobody heard a thing. We started busting through faster than we had in months. All we could do was look up in amazement and think how big the hole looked in that little cell.
It's okay.
I had to find a ventilation duct up there that led to the roof, or my plan was nothing but a load of bull. I put the dummy in my bed. For the body, I stuffed sweatpants and shirts under the blankets. I knew it was going to be a tight squeeze getting through the hole, so I stripped off and smeared myself in Vaseline. Tim made one long cable out of all the extension cords we used for our TV and reading lamps. Then, I lined the hole with plastic bags to assist in sliding through without my skin getting ripped up.
Come on, Tim. Let's go.
Once I got up there and I looked around, I seen the ventilation system leading right to the outside wall. Everything I'd imagined was there. It was one hell of a feeling. At that moment, I'd done 15 years in prison, and I was ready to shed that life forever. Now, there are those that will say, but you're a convicted murderer. What about the victim and her family? And I agree. I feel so much remorse for that tragedy. But I had to escape, to reclaim my life. And man, now, for the first time, I could see the exact way out. Tie the sheets to the steel ladder that was there, creep to the edge, and climb down in the shadow of the turret. Imagine, after all the blood, sweat, and tears you've shed for 3 months, and the night comes when you're looking at nothing between you and freedom. Can you imagine? Living in total awe. We spent 102 days chipping through concrete. Now it was go time, and the adrenaline began to flow.
Start twisting now. Okay.
We guessed the roof was about 40 feet high. 11 sheets would make a rope long enough.
Inmates are allowed to have up to 6 sets of sheets. If it's two-man cell, then you have a total of 12.
We just hoped they'd hold us. Then we waited for the 10:30 count, where we had to stand by our beds. All I thought about them guards as they walked by was there was going to be a surprise in the morning when they try to wake us. I never had any malice for them. I just wanted to slip away into the night and hopefully never be seen again. I wanted my life back. Nothing more. Tim handed me up everything we were taking with us, including soap and a bucket of water to wash off the Vaseline. Then he placed the second dummy in his bed and came up too. We got into the shaft where I'd split it open.
Do this. Okay.
We crawled towards the ladder. The fear of being caught in the process of escaping was messing with my nerves real bad. We snuck over to the edge. That's when the reality hit us. You fall, and maybe you die. I lowered the rope down. We tied red sheets at the bottom to blend in with the bricks. Up to that point, everything had went just as planned. There was nothing between us and freedom but climbing down. Then Tim says,
I can't do it. I'm terrified of heights, man.
That's when I knew I had a problem on my hands.
I can't do it.
Tim, you're joking, right?
Every second of delay was another chance of getting seen, or of the guards discovering the dummies in our beds.
Freedom is just 40 feet away, man. You gotta get it together.
To say I was beginning to get frustrated is an understatement.
Listen, I'm gonna show you how to do it, okay?
So I told him to follow me.
You gotta do this. There's no turning back now.
I was gonna show him how easy it would be. Somehow I got the rope wrapped around my right wrist.
My hand's stuck.
I couldn't go nowhere. The nerves, frustration, adrenaline, everything got to me. Without thinking, I jerked my right hand out of the loop. It seemed like I hanged suspended for a split second. Then I went straight down. I don't remember nothing from that point, till I came back around a few seconds later and I was laying on my back, looking straight up at Morgan peeking over the edge of the roof. I had to move quick, because half of my body was lit by the beam of a security light. My left side was agony. I said to Tim,
Tim, you gotta come down here. I'm hurt.
Tim replies,
No way, man. No way, not after seeing what you went through. I can't do it.
believe me, that sure isn't what I wanted to hear. I had to get him down.
They're gonna find the hole.
I told him if he didn't come down, he ain't never leaving.
You can't leave me like this. All right, fine. You wait.
So, to his credit, he does it. My fall had changed everything. Before, every dilemma I faced was somehow solved with no glitches.
My shoulder hurts bad. I think my ankle's busted, man.
Now I had only one arm and one good leg, and I needed both legs to get me where I was going.
Tim, it's over. We can't do this. It's over. It's not over, man. You're gonna make me a sling. You're gonna wrap my ankle out of that sheet there.
I just knew that I had to get some distance between us and the prison before they worked out they were dummies in our beds.
Easy, easy. You gotta do it quick. You gotta do
Tim shot out right past me. But when the weight hit my left leg, it was agony. All I could do was hobble. I kept thinking we're gonna hear sirens at any time. Pain was messing with my mind. Worse, I still had to do all the thinking. I could see Tim was scared. He kept saying,
Okay, what are we gonna do now? We'll go over the highway and into the woods, all right? Okay.
I told him, we're gonna cross Route 17 and head up into the mountains. Because when they do morning standing count, all hell's gonna break loose. We got to Route 17. As I was getting across the last part, a truck came around the bend, and I just had to jump it.
Come on.
We just hoped the driver hadn't seen us.
Let's go.
I was in some serious pain, especially my shoulder and ribs. But when we entered those woods, man, it was like magic. These were the sights and sounds I'd longed to see again. I knew I was free. I knew I got away. I knew the joy I felt from within. We were just two country boys trying to get back to that way of life.
How do you feel? It's like I shrugged a 100-pound gorilla off my back.
On the count, men, let's go. Up, lights on. Fire your beds. Bill, Morgan, let's go. Get up.
Generally on the 6:30 a.m. count, the inmates are out of their bunks, standing with the lights on. At that time on July 7th, the inmates were still laying in their beds. And when they pulled the sheets back and discovered that there was dummies in the beds, all hell broke loose.
Call the warden. We got a break.
I was in my home about 2 hours away from Elmira. Your immediate reaction is, how did that happen?
You believe this?
You've got two murders out into the public, and it's on your watch. This is the worst case scenario that you can have happen.
When an escape is reported, we immediately lock down a facility. Then you have the availability of a lot more correction officers to go out and do escape pursuit.
Everything can be shut down. I can get you as many men as you want.
At the same time, you're notifying the state police, the local sheriffs, the local law enforcement.
Gentlemen.
My responsibility is to get to the scene and open up a command post and start what we call a lead desk and investigate this incident.
As you know, we've got 2 escapees, both murderers.
When an escapee breaks out, they need transportation, they need food, a report of a stolen car, burglary within the area. Those are the things that we look for.
Morgan and Vale were an extreme risk to the public.
This is my office.
Shut up!
Let's remember that Vale not only murdered a woman, but raped her, and she was 8 months pregnant.
Please don't hurt me.
Not only did he kill her, but he killed her unborn child. In my mind, that's about as bad as it gets. Within hours, we had several hundred correction officers, law enforcement, state police in pursuit of Morgan and Vale. Their responsibility is to use the force that's necessary. You really don't want to kill the inmates, but if you have to kill the inmates, you'll kill the inmates.
It took all my effort to keep going. I was dealing with pain, fatigue, and trying to move broken bones. My whole thought process was getting messed up. Then, we heard the chopper way off in the distance.
Where's it coming from? Right now. You see it? No.
We had to find cover, because I knew they'd be out searching all day, and I needed to rest real bad.
We didn't have any information. In the first 6 or 7 hours, we had none. That was the scary part.
In the last 24 hours, 2 convicted murderers escaped from the Elmira Correctional Facility.
At 1:30 in the afternoon, we did get a call from a truck driver in the Rochester area.
I was driving on I-86 this morning, and I saw 2 white males. One of them needed help across the road. He looked pretty injured.
That was our home run. We're very confident that these were our guys and that they were in them woods.
Right here, Highway 17 at Elmira Heights.
Eagle 1 heading towards Elmira Heights.
We found an empty trailer where I could lay up for a while. I didn't have the proper stuff I needed just to stay hydrated, let alone treat my injuries. I was played out. Tim was pretty wasted too.
It's day 2 in the search for 2 prisoners who escaped from the Elmira Correctional Facility.
The next morning, the chopper was out bright and early.
Tim!
What is that? It's a helicopter. It's gotta be the cops.
Suddenly, I'm thinking, this is it, they found us. When the chopper flew off, man, we put everything into fast forward.
I think he's leaving.
Out the door we went, down this little hill into these heavy bushes along the creek bank. Pain was just shooting through my body. We needed to find some transport. We followed the creek back towards town, maybe 10 miles at my pace. There were cops everywhere.
Okay, let's go. We gotta go. Let's go.
By evening, I couldn't go no further. We ended up in the back of a parking lot. There were no cops around.
What about this one? What about this one? What about this one? Yeah, you have to run it. Should I do it? Yeah, go. Okay. Go.
So that's when the van got stolen. But right away, I asked myself, why? How long before this whole area is crawling with cops?
It was about 7 o'clock on the second day. I was on my way home.
Stolen white van reported on Lake Road. Suspects are 2 white males, matching the description of fugitives Vale and Morgan.
So I started heading that way. Sure enough, there's the van sitting at the red light. I was kind of shocked.
I am in pursuit of a white stolen van headed northbound on Main Street, over.
I followed the van, basically waiting for the cavalry to arrive.
We're about 2 blocks away.
I heard the report of a stolen vehicle go over the radio, and I immediately thought, this is it. We just started heading towards that location. Everyone wants to be the one that catches them.
You see something? Yeah. It's cops, an unmarked car. It didn't matter which way we went. We just kept collecting more cops the further we traveled.
Your fear is that they possibly have weapons. You know that they're escaped murderers, so they're in prison for life. They've got nothing to lose.
Tim and I were real scared. I didn't doubt we'd get shot by making the wrong move.
They turn right on Margaret Avenue.
Then we came round a bend. There was a police car coming towards us.
There's that moment where you're not sure if they're going to ram into our vehicle or try to go through somebody's yard to get away from us.
They're stopping.
At that point, your adrenaline and your training takes over.
Get down!
I don't even remember drawing my gun.
Get down! Get down now! Get down!
I was pretty pumped up.
Hands where I can see them or I'll shoot you!
I couldn't see his hand. I immediately thought he might have had a weapon. I yelled at him.
Get your hands out of your shirt!
My shoulder's busted. I can't show you my hand.
I don't care! Get down on the ground!
I couldn't raise my arm to surrender. In a flash, everything could have exploded.
Can't.
You want to wrap him up as quickly as possible before he has an opportunity to act. Instincts just take over. I just began running directly at Vale, planning just to run into him as hard as I could.
Down on the ground right now!
And I'm yelling at him, I don't care about your shoulder, get on the ground.
Get your hands where I can see them!
You know, I was probably pretty close to shooting him.
Get down on the ground!
It took 17 weeks to dig our escape hole. To go through all that, and it ends in failure after less than 3 days? I just thought, shoot me. I welcomed the idea. If it meant not going back to prison. There's no life there. Only existence.
You thank goodness for the fact that nobody in the community was hurt. You know, those 2 people had hurt enough people in this world.
A key factor in this incident was when Vale fell. If he didn't get hurt, he could have got outside our perimeter. That is a nightmare.
I was transferred to Clinton to do my solitary. Some guys in prison think I'm a hero for what I did, but I consider myself a failure. I spent 23 hours a day in a cell with only the basic essentials. It's a struggle to keep from just screaming and letting myself go crazy.